Tanagarani speaking, representing Golden Cloud Network. We're back. Today we're going to be talking about where the money is. We're looking for the money today. Where have you seen the money? Yes, we have seen where the money is. And where have we seen that? We have looked at something, an indicator that is used to show people where the money is. What is this indicator we're talking about? We're going to be looking at the imports and the exports of Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, yeah, you have to look at the imports and exports to know where the money is, because if you look at the products that are being imported by a country, it shows demand. That shows that, okay, if I slide into this market, then I can make money because there's a high demand of this product. Okay, that's imports. What about exports? Exports shows us that, okay, we have a lot of these items in this country. So what? So if we produce these items, or if we extract these items, we can sell them and get the money, right? So that is what we're going to be talking about today, where to find the money, imports, exports. Thanks to Zimstats, we have a list. We have a list of the most top 10 lists of the most imported products in a country and the most exported products in Zimbabwe here. And we're going to be looking at the period of May 2024. And in the end, we're going to be looking at the money that was moved in these importing and exporting activities for the whole year of 2024. So let's get into that. By looking at these imports and exports, we're going to know where to find the money. Number one, the most imported product in May 2024 was mineral fuels. When we say mineral fuels, what do you mean? We're talking about the petrol. We're talking about the diesel. Everyone knows what we use petrol and diesel for. So I don't really have to touch much into that. But this just shows us that transportation, this just shows us that energy, right? Because besides using diesel and petrol to power our vehicles, we can also use diesel and petrol to power some equipment, for example, generators, for example, other items like air compressors that are used to put pressure in tires, to mention a few. But this just shows us, okay, fuel is moving, fuel is being imported. That means there's a demand. That means there's a demand in transportation. And that's where we can walk into. That's where we can slide into and see, okay, if there's a demand in fuels, how can I make money from that? Because the service stations have a lock on this game. So we have to get creative and see where we can fit in. If you're doing your transport thing, you can fit into that. If you're doing your equipment thing, you can fit into that. So transport at 24.8%. This was the product that was mostly exported in May 2024. And at number two, we come to machinery and mechanical appliances. So as we're going through mechanical and machinery appliances, this is a broad term because, we want specifics. We want to know what kind of machinery and mechanical appliances are we talking about in this article. But they were not specific, so we were left to dig. We were left to ask questions. Okay, and as we did this, we found out, okay, every industry, every area, wherever you go, there's a machinery and mechanical appliance that is used in that certain area, right? Because what are machines used for? They're used in production. They're used to scale up production. They're used to automate production. So, for example, if you're into agriculture, we have machines for that. We have machines that are used to carry out agricultural processes and activities. If you're at the hospital, we have machines that are used to carry out medical processes. So in every single industry has its own machine, right? So the top players of that industry are the ones that will be importing these machines, right? Importing a machine as an individual is possible, but mostly organizations import machines and mechanical appliances because there are a lot of investors that put their money in organizations and companies, which makes it easier for one group of people to import the machineries and the mechanical appliances, right? So that's number 2 of the things that are being imported in the country at a high rate. So machinery and mechanical appliances is at 11.2%. Number 3, cereals. We're talking about maize, we're talking about wheat, we're talking about sorghum, we're talking about all these different types of cereals. So this just shows us that food, no matter how bad things are, no matter the situation, people will always want to eat. And in 2024, the country was just recovering from the El Nino induced drought. So that's why the cereals are at 8.7% import rate, because people need to eat, because industries use cereal to produce the food, especially those food industries. They use cereals as a raw material to produce the different types of foods that they use. Bread, Lobels, Proton, the companies that provide food for us, they need cereals. So if the country isn't producing enough, we're gonna import. And that's demand, and that's something that you can provide, that's something that you can supply and make money. Number 4, vehicles, 8.1%. People are moving, people are active, people are outside, so they need vehicles to move fast, because you cannot depend on public transportation because it's not convenient, right? So people tend to opt for their own private cars to go where they want, whenever they want, especially business owners, especially people who are active. They need their own vehicles. Besides personal vehicles, even the public transportation people, they're importing more vehicles because there are more people that need to move. So they're bringing in those buses, they're bringing in those combis, they're bringing in all these, even construction vehicles, like vehicles abroad. Like there are many different types of vehicles that are used, but transportation, wheels are moving, and people are importing vehicles at 8.1%. This shows you that in the transportation industry, okay, we talked about fuel, now we're talking about vehicles. Okay, this shows us that transport has money, right? Okay, so moving on, electrical machinery and equipment. A lot of these, we can talk about computers, we can talk about different types of gadgets, right? They fall under electrical machinery and equipment. But let's be fast. Fertilizers, 4.1%. Okay, so I've identified one, transport industry, there's money in that. And I'm now starting to identify agriculture, because fertilizers, this just shows us that a lot of farmers need fertilizer for their products or for their crops to flourish. And fertilizers are being imported at 4.1%. This just shows us high demand of food. So agriculture is big too. And in machinery and mechanical appliances, that can also apply for agricultural machinery and mechanical appliances and cereal. Okay, so two key industries that we've identified, and we're number 6 now: transportation and agriculture, right? Number 7, plastics, 3.2%. Plastics mainly go to packaging, right? A lot of packaging needs a lot of plastic. So those industries that will be producing might need plastics to package what they're producing. So we imported a lot of plastics at 3.2%. And number 8, animal and vegetable fats and oils at 9%. Food. Number 9, iron and steel at 5.2%. So the first thing that came to my mind when talking about iron and steel is construction. We need actually a lot of iron and steel in construction. So among other uses of iron and steel, so this is at 5.2%. This is something that is being used a lot. And at number 10, we have miscellaneous chemical products. So these are different types of chemical products. It can be anything, but chemical products are being imported. So this is where the money is. This is where the demand is. And where there's demand, people are importing these things. Companies, organizations, they're importing these things. So the task is to find a way to fit in the service or the supply chain or the service delivery or the utilization of the products that we just mentioned. Okay, so we're also going to be talking about the top 10 countries that we are importing from. So we're importing from South Africa is our number one at 41.4%. Number two, China 10.3%. Bahamas, Bahrain. So Bahrain is a new country that I had never heard of until I did this research. And Bahrain is a country in West Asia, and its main export is fuel. So we probably get some of our fuel from Bahrain if it is not another product, but it makes sense to be fuel because that's its thing. That's Bahrain's thing, fuel. Okay, we also have Zambia at number 5, Mozambique at number 6. This makes sense why our leadership is focusing on Mozambique. Turns out that Mozambique is a great trade partner of ours. We do a lot of trade with Mozambique, South Africa, Zambia, our neighbors. And we also have India in the mix. We have Singapore, we have UAE, and we have Hong Kong. These are the top 10 countries that we import from, right? So if you're into importing, those are the countries that you should do your research in, right? So top 10 exported products. What do we export? And minerals, well, that's our thing. Minerals and tobacco, right? Number 1, we have semi-manufactured gold. We have nickel ores, other ores, mineral substance, tobacco, ferrochromium, industrial diamonds, chromium ores, platinum. So we mining is where what we have. It's what we have as a country, and it's something that we can squeeze into the mining industry and find something. You can get something and you can make a little bit of money from that, because all of our exports are 90%. Yeah, 90%, because 9 out of 10 are just mineral, and then that other 1% is tobacco. So tobacco farming and mining is what we have a lot of excess in. It's what we can get our hands on easily in this country according to our statistics. So where do we export these minerals to? UAE, Dubai, South Africa, Mozambique, China, Zambia, Belgium, Indonesia, Vietnam, Netherlands, and Botswana. These are the countries that we mostly export to. And in conclusion, our total exports for 2024 were worth $7.44 billion. So that's how much money we actually got, from exporting minerals, from exporting 9 out of 10 minerals and tobacco. Yeah, 7.44 billion. So people made 7.44 billion in this country from mining and tobacco only. And then people paid 9.53 billion in imports just to get the things that we mentioned: transport and agriculture. So that's my conclusion. That's my takeaway. Hope that takeaway home point. Oh my god. Yes, those are my take home points. Agriculture, mining, transport, and machines. That's where the money is in Zimbabwe. So special thank you to Zimbabwe National Statistics Agency, Zimstats. That's our main source. And that's what we have for today, folks. I hope you learned something. Let's get it.